Hello and welcome to Hellbent Holler Live. I am your host, Jesse Doyle. This is my co-host, my This is my co-host, my partner in crime, friend to the world, Joe Doyle. Welcome to the show. This is our weekly live stream we do currently here from our parlor. Can you guys hear us? Perfect, Goshawk. Thank you for that, sir. We do this every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about all things high strangeness, cryptids, Bigfoot, Dogman, ghosts, ghouls, goblins, and especially goblins today. We have not had a goblin discussion in a while, but it seems that the hairless ones have reared their ugly heads. And based on what we're seeing, some of these reports are not completely accidental. No. The timing of a lot of this is not completely accidental. It's very interesting to see how a lot of things are lining up and a lot of things are happening all at once at this particular time.
Yep.
So that is going to be the topic of today. That's going to be the subject of today and kind of what we're going to explore. We're going to explore this time of year, this liminal time, this time of transition, and the thinning of the veil that seems that it is occurring all around us. And what are the consequences of that? What feeds into that? And where do we go from here?
Crystal wants to know, how bad did that cat get you? Looks like a big bandage. We had a few neighborhood outside cats that were kind of running around.
Those are called stray cats.
Stray cats. And we had taken a few of them there's a bad outbreak of rabies in our neck of the woods. So we were kind of catching them a few at a time, taking them, getting them fixed, getting them like rabies shots and everything like that. And Jessie was feeding one of them, and one of them got a little scared and just bit a big chunk out of her arm.
Yes.
So we ended up in the urgent care.
So his fang, I have a skull and crossbones on top of a bomb here. Very classy tattoos.
Classy.
Very classy tattoos. But I have a skull and crossbones on top of a bomb here. And weirdly enough, one of his fangs went directly into the forehead of the skull and crossbones and punctured right through it into the muscle. So that happened around midnight last night?
So we were up at the crack of dawn trying to go get her.
So we went to urgent care this morning.
Of course, the whole time she's reading online horror stories of people basically needing amputation after 5 hours of an untreated cat bite. So, but anyway, so she's got that bandage on. Took her out to get a little bite to eat after the doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
And all she wanted was a saucer of milk and some raw tuna. So we'll see how, if the whiskers start to appear sometime tonight.
Speaking of time of transition, I'm transitioning into Catwoman.
You are transitioning into crazy Catwoman.
Yeah,
so anyway,
no good deed goes unpunished these days, as they say.
So another thing too, as we start off, obviously the Bigfoot world lost one of its biggest proponents, most prominent members. Dr. Jeff Meldrum passed away this past week. It was weird because I saw a lot of people posting. We didn't really post anything online because, to be quite honest with you, we didn't really know him. We met him at Smoky Mountain.
We met him at the Great Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference. That was the first time we'd ever met him. We had never seen him speak before, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had never seen him speak before. It was the first time we had ever met him. He had a great sense of humor because, of course, the first interaction that I had with him personally
was giving him a bunch of crap.
And he took it with stride. He laughed about it. And he just was flustered and laughed about it, which is what you can ask for sure. Yeah. He definitely had a great sense of humor. That man was absolutely full of life and really dedicated himself to the subject of Bigfoot. He took time to talk to everybody. It didn't matter how long his line was at the Great Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference. He took time to talk to everybody, took pictures with everyone, signed books, rarely took a break from what I saw throughout the day. He was an absolute madman who had such a vigor for life and the subject of Bigfoot and the people involved in the subject of Bigfoot that I think that he lived enough lifetimes for normal people, several.
Yeah. And the one thing that really stood out about him was the fact that depending on what day of the week is, a lot of times I would be considered a polar opposite of him. And as far as the Bigfoot community, a lot of times I struggle to see how these creatures could just be an undiscovered ape or even a relic hominid at this point. However, and he dealt with people like that constantly whenever he was giving a presentation, and he was still very cordial and polite and really, it's been kind of weird watching it float around on Facebook. We're not really going to go into that too much, but at the end of the day, even though he didn't believe the same as me as far as the nature of Bigfoot or the nature of the phenomenon, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter. He was a great proponent for the subject matter.
And insanely gracious.
Very gracious.
Insanely gracious to people that disagreed with him.
Yeah.
But he really, I think he really professionalized the subject of Bigfoot, of our generation, at least, of our generation of people that are seriously investigating it. He was probably the first person to really lend a lot of professionalism and, that professional edge to it.
Yeah. And
it wasn't just crazy old men,
Yeah, well, it was
ranting
weird.
in the woods.
I could kind of see where he was coming at with the whole woo side of things, because I've seen how some of the woo side of things people
goes extreme
and how they've acted online over the past few days after his passing. Right. So I could kind of see him just going, some of these people are crazy. I think I'm just going to kind of go ahead and focus on what I can touch and measure and just, so anyway, but here's the big thing too. Sarge has a great point. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind in the face of academia, as far as someone of his educational level and basically just position in the educational system.
And you got to think about this too. In terms of the Bigfoot world, you can look at, how a lot, the spectrum of the Bigfoot world is insane. From you've got this mega woo people who are hanging out with the Star Council of Bigfoot, all the way up to people who are just solidly scientific, flesh and blood, relic hominid. You've got those extremes. That's the Bigfoot world, okay? And a lot of people in the Bigfoot world thought that Dr. Meldrum was a stuffy scientist who was too centered on a lane and couldn't open his mind to other possibilities, blah, blah, blah. But in his world of academia, in the college, the university that he taught at,
total rebel.
He was the total crazy person. He was the opposite end of the spectrum. So you got to think about what it takes for somebody to walk that line and to live in both of those worlds, successfully and navigate both of those worlds successfully. So that's kind of an interesting, it's diametrically opposed.
I will allow myself one little. I'll indulge myself just a tad bit. Indulge myself. Mr. Blueberry had said that, Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Grover Krantz are important to the subject. Well, one of the things that struck out to me is everybody is very much jockeying to kind of take that place as the grand
mantle.
The mantle of Jeff Meldrum, the grand old man of the Bigfoot community. And as far as bringing that kind of academic and scientific gravitas to it. And I was kind of looking through that, everybody, we're ready to fill his shoes. And I'm just kind of going, quite honestly, none of y'all are filling his shoes right now. And I think that's where you really need to kind of, no matter where you fall on the Bigfoot spectrum, as far as what it is or what it might not be, there's no one to replace him to even address the subject with people that are just mildly curious.
And why try?
There's nobody to replace him right now.
No, absolutely not. And what's wrong with forging your own path? There's this strange preoccupation and attitude of when a man falls, that some other man must take his exact place. And Dr. Meldrum didn't take anybody's place at any point in time.
He kind of took over for Grover Krantz to a certain extent,
but he forged his own path.
By all means, he by all means did. But as far as you just see the kind of jockeying that's taking place right now, and I'm just kind of going, we don't have anybody of that like, again, that position who can be as credible as Dr. Jeff Meldrum was to the outside world, who is still willing to go forward and talk about like Bigfoot and all that.
Right.
We have various academics and various scientists that have varying degrees of interest in the Bigfoot phenomenon. We don't have anybody, as far as a community goes, to replace Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and we just don't. And but anyway, it's going to be awful strange to see them all try. So there we go. A couple other things that came out this past week, I'm sure. Oh, before we go any further, I wanted to thank our man Okie. Okie, thank you for that, Okie. The top of the show, leading us out. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. So
a lot of people in the chat are struggling with the concept of the goblin thing today.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a minute. A couple other things we're going to talk about. Obviously, there's been a pretty weird. There was, the congressional hearing on UAPs kind of came out, and the big standout thing on that. And we're not going to share the video. If you haven't seen it, you can find it online very easily. I don't know who has copyright to that, and we don't want to run afoul of the copyright gods on YouTube, but there was a video released during the UAP hearing with with Congress, and it's wild. It's wild. It is basically, it was released to a congressman, and I can't remember what his name is. We're running on not a lot of sleep right now. We're still dealing with the roof issue, which is why we're still streaming from in here, but the video that was released was some thermal footage from a drone, a military drone that was observing a unidentified craft going into a conflict zone in the Middle East. And no one could identify what it was. It was moving into, I guess, some important military hardware, and the decision was made to fire upon it, is one explanation for it. The other explanation for this thing is that the military knew that it was a UAP and they were purposely trying to take it down. But regardless, another drone in the area fired a Hellfire missile, which is usually an air to ground, but they've modified them over the years to basically be a do-all, catch-all missile, capable of taking tanks out. They fired one at this thing, whatever this anomalous flying object was, and you see the object going. You see the missile come in for an intercept, doesn't blow up, bounces, course corrects, whatever the thing was, kind of like morphs a little bit, but keeps flying. And then three smaller objects seem to separate off of the main object. But what's weird is that it's not debris. It's three smaller objects that look like little flying hammers. Got the head and the handle. They're all identical, and they all instantly kind of get on the same flight path, same speed, same direction as the main object that just shrugged off a missile. To me, and there might be a prosaic explanation for it, but to me, what it looks like is that a missile locked onto it, hit it. You often hear about these strange craft having some sort of field around them, some sort of electromagnetic field, something like that. And it seemed like that somehow caused the missile to not explode. It deactivated the warhead.
Sarge says, if that was a Hellfire missile, then it didn't detonate. Watch FLIR of Apaches firing Hellfires. It's a big hot flash when they detonate. That looked like a training missile hitting a drone.
I've heard that before, but the training missile even would have taken that drone down. And what are the three completely identical hammer-shaped objects that come out of the back of it that immediately start following it? And what's crazy is that for a couple of years now, there have been some online whistleblowers who have all talked about autonomous drones that are made by like a drone factory, like a UAP factory underwater in the Atlantic Ocean, that some of the drones will appear like flying hammers. And after that video had been out for a few hours, people started to really kind of get in on that. Now, here's the deal. There's been other stuff that's been released in the past.
Filthy Casual says, speaking of the hammer shape, Filthy Casual says, wait, that sounds a bit like that one 4chan leak sometime back, the hammer shape. So you have more instances of that hammer shape.
And that 4chan leak that he's referring to is one of the more credible sounding. Again, you don't know who released it. You don't know what's real. But it didn't sound like the ravings of just like a troll or a lunatic or whatnot. It's interesting. And here's the deal. It might be a red herring. Like Sarge said, it might come out. It might have been released to discredit the UAP movement.
Well, I mean, they've done a pretty good job discrediting themselves with
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff,
Yeah.
with a lot of this trust me bro stuff. That's why I allow you to just look into the UAP stuff. At this point, I just get frustrated with the ego and the personality that's involved in a lot of the stuff when it comes to the UAP topic.
Yeah. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but regardless, it's getting attention, and that's a double-edged sword, because if it is like Sarge mentioned, if there is just a common explanation for it, well, then people will see this and then they'll hear that it's been like officially debunked, not just somebody saying it's fake. If somebody comes out and goes, oh no, that's actually a part of, a training exercise, and here's the greater video for it, and it seems like it's been plausibly debunked, that makes people kind of shy away from the UAP
I guess
topic.
Pacific Ocean, Richard Sharp says, get it right. So.
No, there was one in the Atlantic Ocean, because there was rumors of one in multiple across the planet. You being serious right now?
He did say that. Pacific Ocean, get it right.
So
I don't know. I'm not following this.
Anyway, but it is because it was actually in the they thought that it might tie into some of the missing aircraft and ships in the Bermuda Triangle as well. So it's interesting. We'll see what kind of comes out on it. The hammer-shaped thing is bizarre. The fact that whatever those three objects are get in line with it and then just continue.
MK says, how do we know it was really a Hellfire missile? You just know what people are saying in these hearings, right?
Yeah,
you don't know anything about any of it.
And then Becca said, too, there is a Hellfire
that
that doesn't explode. It just relies on kinetic energy, and it literally has blades attached to it. And it might be that, you know what I'm saying? It might be that. Right now, all you have is this. But I'll go back to is that some of the Tic Tac footage has never been believably debunked to me. The stuff that Commander Fravor saw and all of that. I'm a firm believer in this. I'm a firm believer in the fact that there's weird stuff going on the ground. There's weird stuff going on in the air. It's just that we have a lot more military grade assets with the sensor tech capable of capturing that, focused on stuff in the air, just due to the military applications of it. So if we had some of that similar technology just on the ground all the time, we'd be picking up weird stuff there too. Just if this is real or not real, I don't think it, in the grand scheme of things, it's gonna be impactful if it is real. If it's not real, and we're just back at square one at that point.
Did I say Pacific Ocean? People are saying Pacific Ocean.
I don't know.
Why? I might have Pacific. I don't know. Just
Kim Armstrong, a member for 8 months. Thank you. Saw this today on Mindseed. I don't know what is Mindseed. I don't know what that is. You kids and your crazy YouTube offshoots.
Mindseed.
Anyway, let's see here. All right. What else we got? The other big thing and the thing that's going to do the topic for the show tonight is out of like.
Well, you want to get into that, or you want to talk about like the equinox stuff first?
Oh, the equinox stuff. We have got our equinox investigation.
Mindseed TV videos is what.
Okay, gotcha.
Says.
So the equinox investigation, we have kind of pretty much got hammered out that we're going to be doing for you.
My initial plans were to do a live stream equinox investigation, but fall is taking its sweet time getting to our region, so we are having a lot of trouble with getting our Starlink to work in these remote locations.
Real quick, Curtis Whitaker comes. Curtis Whitaker. Curtis, don't hurt us.
We did a live stream on Saturday night from the dark corner.
Don't just minimize Curtis Whitaker's generous donation here.
Let me know when I can go.
So thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Curtis. We appreciate you always. We appreciate you every week, my friend. Appreciate you. So, But we the area that we were going to do our equinox investigation, and it ain't happening.
No.
We were out fighting that place for two days this weekend.
We finally just we were doing some scouting and everything, trying to figure out, okay, can we stream from this location? Are we going to be able to get here and do this? But we have no leaf change whatsoever. We were up in North Georgia for days and we have no leaf change whatsoever. By this point, we should have at least a little bit of sporadic leaf change at least, but we got nothing. So signal is nil. So we've had to kind of pivot on what we're doing. And I think the pivot was a better choice.
Pivot ends up being a better choice.
Better choice.
We are going to be doing some, as you know, the solstices, the equinoxes, there's certain days that are pretty much cross-cultural. Multiple cultures have always thought that those were times of the year where like the veil thinned and like the other walked among us and they were empowered. These otherworldly forces were more capable of interacting with like our world, and the equinox is like a big one. And it is very liminal time.
Up to this point, and this is something we've been discussing for weeks at this point, it seems like we're all ramping up to something. It seems like sociologically, it seems like with weather, it seems like in every facet of our lives, it feels like we're ramping up to something. So we were thinking that we could take advantage of this liminal time, the equinox, with day and night being equal. It's the thinning of the veil. This is this time, this in-between time. We figured while all of this stuff is ramping up, this would be the perfect opportunity to run some experiments. So this is not going to be an investigation that is solely geared towards, say, Bigfoot or Dogman or any kind of physical cryptid. This is going to be some sort of hybrid between those. We're going to go between a paranormal investigation and a cryptid investigation. We're not separating the two. We're going to use the route of a paranormal investigation to investigate physical cryptids.
See what we come up with.
So we're very excited about doing that. We're doing it in a space that is a liminal space. It is a location of crossing over. It is a place that spans time and space. It is a place that has been inhabited by many people over the years, and a lot of strange activity that we have documented has actually gone down in this location. And we're going to run a few experiments on the equinox. We will be filming, of course, every bit of everything that we do. There's going to be a couple of locations within the main location that we're going to go, and we're going to run some of these experiments. In the past, we've gone to the location of a burning light. And if you guys remember that expedition we did, where we found that area, we went up on that hill, and that light just emerged out of the forest, and we actually captured that on camera. We followed up that investigation with an equinox investigation, where we went up there and we used a device we call the beacon. We set that up, we had cameras set up and everything, and we actually got some strange stuff that occurred. We're going to do a similar kind of thing in this other location, which is going to be we're not going to tell you what the location is because we want to surprise you with this, but we're going to go into this highly charged area and we're going to run some equinox experiments. We're really excited about it. We've been kind of working on the plan for that, and we will release the video on that after we do that whole equinox investigation. But we are looking at using tools and elements commonly used in paranormal investigations in a cryptid investigation. We are going to implement the use of a device that we've put together called the beacon. And Joe, if you'd like to talk about the beacon a little bit.
So we use the beacon. If you guys have seen some of our videos, we've used the beacon a handful of times. What we just through like firsthand experience doing this stuff, which is invaluable. We're not relying upon other people's stories. We're not relying upon other people's accounts. It's what we've encountered ourselves out doing this stuff, out physically on the ground in active areas, looking to document strange activity. So what we discovered is a few things. Is we caught on our spectrum analyzer on a handful of occasions that weird 1.6 gigahertz signal. When we first caught it, people started chiming in, letting us know that Skinwalker Ranch was experiencing that. Joe and Ron from Wild and Weird West Virginia have experienced that in the field. And yeah, there are some prosaic kind of like explainable sources for that signal, but there's also prosaic and explainable sources for light. And sometimes you see an anomalous light. We're catching that signal in association with strange activity. So there's something to it. So we were catching that. We were having, on multiple occasions, our equipment seemed to be affected by both just strange malfunctions or, anomalous battery drain, just unexplainable battery drain. Sometimes the batteries drained and then they were never chargeable again. Sometimes our SD cards would get wiped up and it would look like they were hit with like a magnetic field.
We even had Samsung tell us that. When we sent in an SD card.
Don't hit your SD cards with a magnet. I'm not hitting it with a magnet, man. And then there's always this theory that these physical creatures on the ground can see infrared light, which should be impossible for warm-blooded creatures. Matter of fact, there was a warm-blooded mundane creatures, I should say that. There was a story that came out in the past couple of weeks where I can't remember what part of the world it is, but scientists have developed these contact lenses that don't need, any sort of electrical charge to work. And they can convert infrared light to visible light.
Oh, wow. They
actually work better when your eyes are closed because your eyelids filter out even more light and then just only the infrared goes through. And I looked at that and I just went, so it's possible. It's just not possible biologically. Right. It would have to be a technological.
How do we get some of these contacts?
I'm telling you, it would be well, you'd still need the infrared light to shine at night, but there's this thing, and it does seem to be true. We've dealt with people that have had what appears to be Sasquatch activity on their property, and they put up cameras to first off catch footage of whatever's going on, and then also to kind of like maybe form an electric fence to kind of like push these things back. But it does seem to be true. So we did is we took all of these elements, we combined them together in like a device we call the beacon. It's several electromagnetic pumps, like EM pumps, that are pretty freaking powerful. They're really powerful for their size. It's insane. Keeping them powered up and charged is a problem. We go through a lot of batteries doing it, but they're powerful. It's strong. It puts out a real strong EMF field, electromagnetic field. So we put 2 signal generators on there, both pumping out. Instead of like receiving a signal, it's pumping out that 1.6 gigahertz signal. And then we've got some military grade infrared beacons that are like basically flashing on there. So the goal is that if there's entities or some sort of like creatures, physical or not physical, that are out there, that these are the things that seem to they interact with somehow, maybe even strengthen it somehow. So it's not something that's like insanely powerful, like that dog whistle thing that some of the UAP, like some of the UFO hunters were using. This is basically just a beacon. It's a beacon in the darkness. It's pumping out electromagnetic energy that doesn't exist normally in nature. It's pumping out that 1.6 gigahertz signal that is somehow inexplicably tied with a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And then it's pumping out infrared light in a novel way that doesn't look like our cameras. It doesn't look like game cams. And if a creature had the ability
and the intensity of that IR travels further than what we have on our cameras or on a game cam.
Yeah.
Those beacons, those light beacons are a lot more powerful than anything that we're using.
So if a creature had the ability to see in the infrared range, it's going to see this and go, I've never seen that before. Let me go check it out. It's a beacon. It's meant to draw something in. And the handful of times we've used it, it appears to have worked. One time, we put it down on the ground and had it running, and then we had a camera, a full spectrum camera on it. Just left it unattended with its own battery source on a tripod, just there watching it. And you could see the visible colored lights of the electromagnetic pump. And then you could see, because this is a full spectrum camera, you could see the infrared lights flashing. And it's looking right at it. We go off because we heard some weird boom sounds So we go to investigate that, and we left the camera there to watch the beacon, see if anything comes up to the beacon. Well, something did come up to the beacon. Something moves up behind the camera, and something turns it off. We thought that basically the camera had died. It still had a full charge. The battery bank that it was attached to still had a full charge, still had memory. It just cut off. But what's weird is you hear something move up behind it. There's a little bit of interference, and that's on the Equinox investigation video.
It is, yes.
The one we did a couple of years ago on the Equinox. There's a weird little interference. You hear something moving up behind it, like physical steps coming up behind it, and then it just turns off. And at first I'm going, all right, is there somebody out there with us that saw this, came up, was familiar with the type of camera we were using, knew which button to hit? But what's crazy is the tripod that's on, and I wish I had it here.
It's like a single like monopod. But it's got a little tiny like 3-leg thing at the bottom.
It's kind of shaky in that environment. Yeah. And nobody touched it, nobody handled it. And even if you went to hit the button, I'll use my glasses here for an example, you would have jostled it a little bit. It just turns off, kind of like that recorder we left out that time.
Right.
It just turned off.
Yeah.
We still don't know what that is, man. I mean, unless there's like a ninja out in the woods messing with us, it's bizarre. So that thing, you feel it when it turns on sometimes. It's weird. And if we're using any sort of like detection equipment, like a tri-field or an EMF detector, the only thing that's really not pumping out is like ionized radiation that would set off the Geiger counter. But it's pumping out weird stuff with the hope of drawing in weird stuff.
A lighthouse in the dark.
Exactly right. It's a beacon. It is to, if something is there, physical, not so physical, something that's like, that has the ability to manipulate that stuff. If something's manipulating electronic equipment, it has to be able to sense electronic equipment, I would think. If there's something generating a 1.6 gigahertz signal, maybe it could detect that 1.6 gigahertz signal. And I don't think we're fooling anything. I don't think it's going to go, oh, it's another one of us out here. Let's go check it out. The whole goal is to make something curious or piss something off and have it come in to check it out. We haven't deployed it in a while. So we're going to I ran some function tests on it this week. Everything's good to go. We're going to redeploy that on the Equinox and see what we get. We're going to do a couple of other experiments as well, just to see if I would love to just be able to document something out there, period.
Right.
But we want to try to be interactive with it as well. And then
we want to kind of take a novel approach to investigating the area. We've not deployed any of these tactics so far in this particular area at all. In addition to the beacon, we're going to bring out some stuff that we did around last Halloween when we did the Ghosts of Appalachia and we did the Devil's Graveyard. We're going to attempt an Estes session and see if we can get some kind of response out of that, because there was a human element there, and we're going to see if we can maybe connect with the people who once inhabited that land, or maybe see if we can connect with whatever else is inhabiting the land right now. And maybe get some information or connect some dots via those means. We also have a new device called a polterscript that you got me for Christmas last year.
And what's weird is that we will sometimes use, although the UAP people are starting to kind of like get a little tech heavy, a lot of times like paranormal investigators, like straight up like ghost hunters, I'm really impressed by like a lot of like hardcore paranormal investigators, more so than like their Bigfoot hunting equivalents a lot of times.
Because they're always looking for new and novel
very
ways.
Serious. They're very creative. They're willing to invest in this stuff. But one of the things that I always see in the paranormal community is people going, well, those devices don't work. How does something know what to do? And I'm going, how does something know how to like affect our SD cards? How does something know when to affect? There's some sort of like knowledge that's beyond us here going on.
And of course, you're applying human logic, human knowledge,
to something that definitely
tactics to something that we don't know anything about at this point.
We've gotten some weird stuff on that polterscript before, and that's one of these devices that just changes in the ambient like electromagnetic field will cause it to generate up words. And
it's got a library of words, got thousands of words in it.
I used to dismiss that stuff just as nonsense, and now I'm just going, something out here is affecting our equipment. It's
Because
interacting with our equipment.
on the surface, you hear that and you're like, okay, how the heck does this work? Why would it do this? This is a gimmicky thing. This is just a stupid ghost hunting piece of equipment that somebody buys. But we have found that it gets some really interesting responses that we all of a sudden find evidence for in the physical environment.
So Sarge has a question. How does the beacon affect you two? Jesse seems sick. It affects Jesse. I feel it sometimes. You just get like a weird kind of like little feeling. For me, some of that might be psychosomatic because I'm not really like sensitive to a lot of that stuff. But Jesse is sensitive to it. She can. It has made her get a little nauseous upon occasion for it. But you know what? Here's the deal. That's not outside the realm of that's not too fantastic. A lot of people are just more sensitive and aware of anything. People are more sensitive to stuff in the electromagnetic spectrum than other people are. Some people hear low frequency and high frequency sounds better than other people do. Some people just biologically are built differently to detect stuff that your naked eye can't see. So that's not really woo. It just means that, some people are really susceptible to kind of like EMF noisy, like, lighting and stuff like that. It just kind of makes them a little uncomfortable and whatnot. So that happens. That's documented. So, and then our buddy Bonnie Blue McGee with the extra energy put into the environment, that should help anything that's not so solid manifest. And there's a lot of energy in the environment right now. If nothing else, the thermal energy that is in the environment, we've got earthquakes happening in our region. I don't even know when the last one was, all the damn time.
Mm-hmm.
There's energy out here. There, you feel it. Some people were talking in the chat earlier. We're usually starting to get, this part of the country is famous for like the changing of the leaf color. People come from all over the world to like watch the leaves change.
We're leafers.
Yeah, leafers, leaf peekers. But
leaf peepers.
We're not in peak leaf by any stretch of the imagination, but
and we're not supposed to be in peak leaf right now.
But you should be seeing changes in the coloration.
Yeah. And again, I do have to remind you guys, we're in the Southern Appalachian region. I know that some of you are further north than we are. So you're going to have a different kind of time period here. But we should already have some spotting here. We should at least have some spotting of the leaves and everything. We have somebody that was mentioning that in Canada, they still don't have the leaves change as far as it should have already changed. So it's really behind on the timeline for everyone right now. And I know it's been an insanely hot summer. And it seems that that's carried on through this September and everything like that. So we're going to see. But that's the thing is it's normally we would have at least we wouldn't have a full change by now. I'm not speaking in definitives. I know everybody wants to think in definitives constantly. We shouldn't have a full change now, but we should have some indications of fall is coming, that the change is happening, and it's just not happening.
So it's Lady Wolf is in. Lady Wolf, howdy all.
Hello, Lady Wolf.
Bless HBH and the Hellbenders. What's up, my lady? So there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy, and we're going into a liminal time. And
we're hoping to harness that and take advantage of that time and hopefully get some sort of response or maybe connect some dots or get some sort of interactivity,
Well, and then Ristel had mentioned earlier that we had some solar activity messing with signals over the weekend. We tried to use the Starlink to go live, and actually it was a much
What did the notification on the Starlink say?
We had the
extreme weather events? Yeah,
we were having we went to a field, and the field was extremely easy to move around in.
And
open. It was pretty much just a perfect scenario to deploy the Starlink, and we had a lot of Starlink problems.
We did go on. We did one stream, and then we followed it with another stream after we got disconnected, and we were able to connect pretty solidly for those.
We disconnected the second time because we were smelling cucumbers everywhere, which meant we had a bunch of snakes. We had a lot of snakes in there.
Now I did attempt a whoop. I will have you all know.
Yeah, but
an earth shattering. I do apologize to anybody who watched that stream. It was the part 2 stream from Dark Corner where we did our live stream, where we came live from the Dark Corner over the weekend. In the part 2, I do attempt to whoop, and it is very, very loud. So I do
Yeah.
apologize for that. Joe was not prepared for that. I
But
don't think I was either.
we on the Starlink, it told us that the issues were caused by extreme weather in our area. We had clear skies, man, clear skies. And Rissel is saying that there was some solar activity this weekend. So there's that too. There's been a lot of weird solar-like event, a lot of solar activity hitting. So there's a lot of just energy out in the world right now that might actually be able to strengthen some of this stuff. Mr. Booberry had mentioned like those people that hear the mystery hums that other people don't hear. Some people are just more sensitive to this stuff. So we're hoping that this is going to be a perfect storm of weird activity that we can document. Because the other thing too is that it's been, at least where we've been at, it's been quiet, man. It's been quiet. We've been out pretty constantly. We're not really hearing anything. Like we saw some weird lights over the weekend, but I can't.
Welcome back, Hope. Welcome on.
What's up, Hope? How are you, Hope? Thank you so much for coming joining the membership, Hope. We appreciate the support.
Absolutely.
So, but we I saw some lights, but we could never really get a good look at them, and they were kind of fleeting. And we did see some like fireflies out, so I have to immediately go. I couldn't tell what they were. They didn't behave strangely. They were just little glimpses of light. I might have been seeing fireflies. So part of me thinks that maybe everything's going to just let loose with a bang.
I'm wondering.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying. I'm wondering.
Yeah. So we're hoping that
it seems like you experienced this. This universal building of energy, this universal tension that's building, and it's
when's the dam going to break?
Every facet of your life, and we've discussed this over the past couple of weeks, and things just keep occurring, and the pressure keeps building all around you when it comes to weather, when it comes to social issues, when it comes to stress that people are experiencing, when it comes to just everything. It seems like everything is just building one block at a time, and you're wondering, when is that dam going to break? And I think that this equinox experiment is going to be an interesting way to maybe hopefully ride that wave into maybe getting some evidence of something.
Talking about your screen, Jesse wanted to. It was quiet. Now we heard some owls. We did hear a few like strange like branch break sounds that seemed pretty big. When Jesse did the scream on the live stream, which was god awful. Good Lord, it was a scream. It completely caught everybody off guard.
Sorry.
People were saying, you just woke my neighbors up next door. Somebody
commented, you just woke my grandmother up and she died in 1989.
So we heard some vocalizations in the background, but there were also barred owls going around that night. And we didn't hear them, whatever vocalized after Jesse let that scream go. It might have just been owls. I don't know. We didn't hear them close enough. We didn't hear it again. It might have just been owls a little further in the distance that just happened to you would think that normal wildlife would all be running in terror after that scream. But so it was just, we left going, we heard a few weird things, but at the end of the day, we're going to chalk this up to being a pretty quiet night. So we're hoping that
of course, everybody is saying, Booberry goes, your turn next, Joe. And Lady Wolf goes, we need to hear Joe's version now. You've got a lot of smack you're talking about my woo.
Joe can't replicate the sound that you made. So
you've got your
so we'll see. But like I said, we kind of came to the realization this weekend after we had hit several spots trying to scout them out. Just going, the vegetation's too thick. The snakes are. Somebody had told us they had parts of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park.
That was pork chop.
Pork chop. It said that parts of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park had been closed down due to like really heavy numbers of venomous snakes in that area, and that people have never seen that in these areas before. So we finally just went, we were in one area, man, and we're walking through there and we're literally pushing through the brush, and I'm going, we have no visibility here. We have like literally like inches away from our face of like visibility. If something happens, we're not gonna be able to document it on camera. The vegetation's pulling the dead cats and like the foam covers off my microphone trying to go back through there. And I'm going, if something happens, we're not going to be able to document it. We're just setting ourselves up for frustration in here.
Yeah.
So we've switched gears into some areas that we can operate in. And then as the vegetation dies, as the weather gets colder, we'll be able to kind of go into the areas we'd like to be in right now. But we kindly just we're beating our head against a wall. We can't operate in these areas. It's just too thick. The vegetation is far thicker than it has been in previous years. We went into an area that we were going, this area is always pretty clear because there's a pretty heavy number of pine trees in the area.
Correct.
It's so thick in there, man.
Yeah,
it's
wild. It's interesting to see. I'm curious if some of these national forests are going to be doing more controlled burns.
Well, the area we were in
the coming fall, just because the vegetation, the undergrowth is so thick that you've got a huge fire hazard You've got a huge hazard for wildfire coming up in the fall and winter. So,
well, the area we were in this weekend, hey, our buddy South Force 10 is in here. How are you, buddy? And he goes, check your subscriptions. I was unsubscribed somehow.
We noticed we were subscribed to a bunch of channels
that we've never even heard of
that
before.
we've never heard of before.
And then we were unsubscribed to like a knife review channel that I watch weekly. I went to my subscriptions and it was not there anymore. And I'm going, where did these channels come from? And then where did my knife reviewer go to? So anyway, but yeah, and we were in an area this weekend where there's an old Forest Service road and it had actually been cleared. And there was like tracks, like treads from like a heavy equipment they had brought in there. And we couldn't figure out why. We don't think it's anything like
paranormal, weird,
conspiratorial. Just looked like the Forest Service doing some weird stuff. And then we were like, I wonder if they are planning on some controlled burns in some of these areas.
That is an area that got hit with a wildfire not too long ago. I want to say it was like within the past year or so. So it would probably be a good idea to go ahead and get those areas kind of prepared in case they need to use those roads as fire access.
Yeah. And I think that's what happened for it. So
because once it goes, it spreads quickly.
And
we're gonna get into the old Gobbelinos.
Yeah, so
let's get into them Gobbelinos, kid.
So we pay attention to patterns. Like we always talk about the fact that we pay attention to what the universe tells us. We don't, and I think that's what we're doing with this investigation. The universe is telling us,
do not go
to
where you want to go.
Go to where you can go. Focus on what you can do. Stop. We don't really have a lot of control in a lot of these things. We just we can't force paranormal or cryptid activity to happen if that's what it is. We just have to go out there so often that we, hopefully hopefully catch something, document it, share it with you all. So one of the things that really kind of jumped out at me this week is, and it was so out of left field for me, is.
Whenever you're ready, I'll bring it up. Baby.
Bring that up real quick.
Sure.
Is the amount of conversation that was taking place online in independent areas. I happened to see it right as it was starting to just appear in places, but the amount of conversation that's taking place in different paranormal when I say paranormal communities, I don't mean just the ghost community. I mean anything that is fringe kind of topics, UFOs, cryptid stuff, paranormal, everything like that. All of the weird, spooky topics.
The ancillary.
Everything from physical stuff on the ground to the more paranormal based stuff to mainstream press are talking about these things. This was from a Reddit post that I came across of someone talking about how they were seeing these things looking through their windows. And a lot of times people will try to outdo each other with their storytelling. Oh, I caught this fish that was this big. Oh, I caught this fish that was this big. A lot of the responses to this seem very genuine. Now, this is obviously somebody used AI to generate what they were seeing. And a lot of people were going, holy crap, that looks like what we saw. And if you look at it, it doesn't look like the standard alien gray.
City Witch comments that it looks like a cross between a rake and a gray.
So I see that. And there's a lot of very believable conversation of people. No one's in there going, oh, yes, these are the offspring of the Anunnaki, and they come out of the, nobody's coming forward with these like crazy, fully blown out explanation story. Not yet. It was just all of these people going, wow, that kind of captures very closely what I saw. You know, some of them were in the past, some of them had been very recent, but there was a lot of discussion on this. And there was a lot of discussion about how in North America, people are still really seeing these things. And a lot of them weren't very dramatic stories. A lot of them were, I saw one of these things in my backyard. I saw one of these things looking through my window. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, this archetype, this white, often hairless, or in this case, if you see this image, it almost looks like it's got short, pale fur everywhere except at its face.
Patty G said it has fur, though. Do rakes have fur?
Well, I don't know. A lot of times are people, if you look at this, the skin tone and the hair are the same, pretty much exact shade. Regardless, people are seeing very pale or bone white, hairless, or hair that blends in with the rest of the skin tone. Creatures, often very thin, like this one appears to be by the shape of its neck.
This is just like happening in a widespread manner. This is like sort of just a rash of experiences people are having. Are a lot of these experiences recent?
It ran the gamut. Went everything from people that were in their like 60s talking about having visions of this, like sightings of these things as a child, to people talking about things that had happened within the past month.
Mm-hmm.
So that started to get me at this point. Then there was a story that is making the rounds today, and it was released earlier, but Oxford American just released it. And again, I'm not going to share the thing for it. We'll put the link in it. But the title of the article is Gobsmacked: Supernatural Sightings After a Flood. And it's basically talking about some of the flooding that's happened over the past couple of years. There have been mysterious waves of goblin-like creatures sighted in and around eastern Kentucky after these floods have come through. And in this article, and again, it's called Gobsmacked: Supernatural Sightings After a Flood. And it is done speaking to people that were both first responders and residents of these flood-affected areas, talking about, and these aren't cryptid people, these aren't paranormal investigators, these aren't people that consume a lot of like content that would maybe talk about goblins. These are people that lived in these areas or came in to assist with these areas.
Who's this goblin audience?
Who's this guy? So
wait a minute.
These people.
Wait a minute. Back this up. Who is the goblin audience? Is this the goblin audience?
People. Yeah, this is pretty much the goblin target audience.
All right, we got the goblin targets here.
So, but the story, and I found this within minutes on a completely. I was just kind of cruising through Reddit, and I'm coming across multiple things of like goblins. Goblins are all of a sudden in like the collective unconscious.
So hot right now.
Goblins are so hot right now. They're so hot. But some of the stories that were in there, people were talking about going out to try to like save livestock from like these flooding, like these rising flood waters. Some people saw dead, short, bone white creatures with very large eyes, in some cases wearing like very crude animal skins.
Mm-hmm.
One person said that they saw an elevated piece of ground that was very quickly being like, covered with rising floodwaters. And that one of these creatures was sitting on it, rocking, holding its head in its hands. And as if it was like stressing out that it was getting ready to be swept away by the floodwaters. It was wild. One person, so they were talking to some people that had lived in that area that were very familiar with like the folklore of that region. And people were talking about, we used to see them occasionally as kids. They're not as frequently seen nowadays. But this is what we saw, and it was matching exactly what a lot of these first responders were seeing.
What's interesting is this is coming on the heels of the anniversary of the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblin anniversary.
Yeah. But these are not people that really that are reporting these would really know about. Now, the person writing the article did a deep dive into it, and they start coming across things like the rake phenomenon, the moon-eyed people.
And somebody mentioned this here in the chat. Nutslap said, if I saw that thing, I wouldn't call it a goblin. And I think what we're kind of missing here maybe is that what we're referring to as goblin, there is this common interpretation of what could be referred to as a goblin. You would see what a green goblin-y thing with pointy ears. Yeah. Or would you say that perhaps something like a pale crawler or something akin to a rake, would that go under the goblin umbrella? Or are we talking about multiple things that are just being referred to as goblins?
You have these things that have very similar physical characteristics, and there might be slight variations, which also could be chalked up to variations within a species, separate species that just have very similar aspects to one another, but there's still some variances, or just the variances that you would get within just witness reports of like a witness recounting.
I mean, you have the same thing with maybe Dogman and Bigfoot reports, where somebody, the only thing they can think of is a Bigfoot. They would never think of a Dogman, but they see something large and hairy in the woods, and it could have possibly been a Dogman, but they report it as a Bigfoot sighting.
Alan Howe says, love the set decor. Looks great. This is the library, the parlor. This is our front room that we had to move everything to because we still haven't gotten our roof fixed, and we got to get the roof fixed before we can fix the ceiling in the podcast room. I was up there putting tarps up actually before we went live because I've got to get we might have some rain coming through.
Mr. Turkey Toe asks, how come you do not dismiss the rake stuff since it spawned from creepypasta?
Because it's still reported, and you know what, that is definitely possibly a creepypasta creature, but there's other creatures that have very similar physical characteristics that don't devolve from creepypasta. And my thing is this, is that you've got the Dover demon from like Massachusetts in 1977. It was about a 3 to 4 foot tall, pale, hairless creature, large eyes, very spindly limbs. Okay. You have
these are also the alien grays, like
alien grays. You have
similar physical characteristics, and even if you see something, you know, you see something very quickly, you see it in a flash, you see it in a moment of panic. Maybe that has different characteristics that could apply to something else. Maybe you are seeing a bunch of the same thing.
Well, people have been seeing creatures like this. The moon-eyed children, moon-eyed people. I'm sorry. You have the moon-eyed people. You have the Kelly, like Hopkinsville goblins that were reported long before the rake was ever done. Now, the term rake is obviously like an internet invention. But here's the deal. People might be seeing these creatures that have this kind of like physical checklist of characteristics, okay? Checklist of physical characteristics. Basically, and then getting on the internet and then going, oh, a rake, that's what I saw, a rake. That's just like werewolves. When we talk to people that have had Dogman encounters, especially in rural areas who are not really tied into like the online cryptid community, they don't say Dogman. They've never heard of a freaking Dogman before. They say werewolf. Now, what they are seeing might not conform to like the actual, that might not be something that's transforming into like a canine kind of aspect. It may not be a folkloric werewolf, but that's the term that they're using to describe it. And just because a witness is using a term that's not correct doesn't invalidate what they might be experiencing or seeing at that point. Remember the guy that thought he was dealing with wendigos and everybody shot him down because he was seeing extremely spindly, tall creatures with skull faces and antlers. And then he came back going, they're wearing masks. They're wearing deer and elk skulls as masks. And we're going, okay, he's trying to find the closest approximation to kind of make sense of something that doesn't really make sense in his worldview. So, but these creatures are like seen like everywhere at this point. I mean, you've even got things like, you know, the melon heads, which are from like up around Ohio and all of that. Those are small, like child-sized creatures that are often said to live in like tunnels and like caves in the forests. Large eyes, hairless, you know, a lot of times these creatures have like a subterranean connection. Even alien grays are often talk about having subterranean bases that they take people down into. There are variations of the Fae from like Western Europe that have similar characteristics. A lot of the The Fey variants often were talked about being hairless, large ears, large eyes.
So the use of the term goblin in this conversation is more of a catch-all into something that is just referring to something that is maybe hairless, pale, I think that there's a lot of, especially in the chat right now, there's a lot of like splitting of hairs that this is not real. This is real. This is what this is called. This is what this is called. That the Kelly Hopkinsville goblin instance was more of an extraterrestrial encounter.
Maybe. Or perhaps. How do we know that? You know what I'm saying? A lot of the alien gray activity doesn't necessarily need to be coming from like Zeta Reticuli. Maybe it's here the entire time.
The call is coming from inside the house.
The call is coming from inside the house. So, even like some of the stuff from like folklore, like Tommy knockers, those are things that are basically with mines or whatnot. They're often described as having pale skin, very small. There's just all sorts of things. Bonnie Blue could probably give me, it's somewhere in Great Britain. There are these things called trowels that are basically a type of fae that when you look at the description in some of the literature, you would think that they were describing an alien gray coming out of the ground and messing with people, So it's one of the things I kind of want to challenge people on is just because somebody's using a term that you don't believe doesn't invalidate their encounter. They're struggling to try to explain what they saw, and they just found this term because quite honestly, if you start Googling these descriptions online, you're probably going to find Rake Creepypasta or Kelly Hopkinsville, the Hopkinsville.
And I think that might also possibly because right now in the zeitgeist, you're gonna have more Rake creepypasta than historical legends.
Well,
legends or lore, because you have more people online in that sphere talking about creepypasta and Rake and everything than the historical lore, right?
Well, you've got this. When the Expedition Bigfoot Museum in Georgia opened up, Bigfoot sightings in that area exploded. And there's a couple of explanations that people have put forward to it. Well, now there was a place to report them to because the museum takes reports, and it's been going on all along. People have Bigfoot on the brain. They're seeing Bigfoot where it didn't exist before. It doesn't exist there now. It's just more of a topic of conversation, and people are more geared towards misinterpreting things to be Bigfoot activity. Or it's the fact that there's a lot more mental energy and discussion targeted towards the Bigfoot topic, and that is somehow amplifying the activity. Tulpas, egregores, things that all of a sudden have a physical manifestation in our reality because of the mental energy and intent that humanity kind of like spends on that topic. You could be seeing something like that. You could be seeing the fact that we've reached critical mass area, that enough people are talking about these like rakes, pale crawler creatures, so that maybe some of this energy out there that sometimes physically manifests in our world, and it's in the past physically manifested as different things, is now manifesting itself for what people are psychologically primed to expect to see at that point. So,
and JD Smooth, my man, says in the Hopkinsville goblin story, there was a ship that landed near the house. So
where'd that ship come from, though? You can't say that ship came from another planet. We didn't see it leave. We didn't see it enter the atmosphere. Even some of the stuff that's like got some shaky
foundation,
like what were those things called? I did a list up before we got on here, but the Daros, the Daros from like the Shaver mystery. Those were often called like little pale misshapen dwarves that lived underground that would like mess with people. There's this weird,
I feel like that was an insult geared towards me. Pale misshapen little dwarf.
But that thing just kind of comes along with the fact that these things are being seen like all the time, and now all of a sudden I see people talking about it in areas where, let's just be honest, most of the discussion takes place nowadays on some of these online platforms. Okay. Seeing people discuss this stuff on Reddit and seeing it kind of come out of nowhere right at the same time that we see the fact that there are people who are not sharing these stories on like Facebook cryptid groups, but are instead talking to the authors of this like article. They had some crazy stuff in this article, man. They had some crazy, and it was quite honestly, it was kind of shocking to see it just within an hour after reading all of this stuff on on Reddit that people were encountering this. And again, don't get too caught up on the fact that it's on Reddit. Get caught up on the fact that it's people discussing these things in real time right now.
And of course, you're going to have a certain number of people who are going to go in here and make up stories
Oh,
or
absolutely.
just go on just to make fun of the whole situation.
But to be honest with you, the most of the made up stories usually have some sort of sensational or nonsensical aspect to them. Most of these just seemed like people going, oh my Lord, I've seen that. And then just sharing what they had seen. You know what I'm saying? Generally, people that are spinning a tall tale want to be the focus of attention for that tall tale. That's what you see on the Facebook, like Bigfoot groups and everything like that. This was just, it was a very organic discussion that was watching unfold of some people come in and making jokes and leaving, other people just going, holy crap, that's very similar to what I saw. I saw this when I was a kid.
And this is kind of interesting, coming on the heels of last week's episode when we were talking about that dark, spindly, inky black figure that people were reporting on another Reddit that we were looking on, and somebody had generated an image, and we pulled up the image, and it looked exactly like something we had actually seen ourselves. And this is not something that. And then there's a number of people who said they had seen this. So you and I are actually part of this. I've never seen a goblin creature. I've never laid eyes on anything.
I'll be honest with you, though. If we had to pick one thing to see, and it's I don't mess with alien stuff. I never want to mess with like alien stuff. That's outside.
Fire in the Sky did it to you.
Yeah, the Fire in the Sky did it to me.
Yeah.
Did a number on me. I never recovered it from it. But like subterranean things, like whenever we watch Hellier, we're always just like, man, why did they not head for those caves? You know what I'm saying? Why did they not go for them? But the bone white goblin creatures that come from underground fascinate the hell out of me.
Is that something you'd like to see?
That's something I would like to see and like to try to get. I'll be honest with you, even more than like Sasquatch footage. Like
you'd like to see one of these.
I'd like to get up close footage of like one of these creatures if at all possible. That would be like, for me, that's like and what's crazy is that you don't get a lot of reports of those things, especially in comparison to like Bigfoot. But you to all of a sudden start seeing this chatter that's organically started up from multiple different locations online. Some of the stuff
and it's kind of coalescing, and it's at this particular time. But that was my point with the whole black, inky, spindly, long-limbed creature that we showed, that generated a picture of last week, and those stories that people were telling about that. My point is, while you and I have never seen one of these, goblin-like creatures ever before, we can't discount what we're finding here in these stories. We can't discount what people are talking about, because that was something that was posted on Reddit. And as soon as I saw that image, I said, that is exactly what we saw. So we can't sit here and discount what these other people are saying, because we're in the same boat with that other thing that it seems completely impossible to exist. So we're in the exact same boat with just a different kind of creature. So, you can look at the stuff and say, this is silly. This is just creepypasta. This is this. But I know for a fact I saw what we showed last week.
Jerry has a thing. I think you're right to not totally dismiss certain things from creepypasta and others. Even older legends have some pieces of facts mixed in. Oscar here. Hi guys, I'm from Puerto Rico, and the description of the chupacabras that old people here say is that thing looks like a gargoyle. In many cases, they called the thing a gargoyle. Some of the chupacabra descriptions, the duendes that people see across like South America, small pale creatures. Now they actually have more of like a gnome kind of like quality to a lot of them, but some of the stuff from this, the descriptions of the sightings in this article of these creatures.
I do have to pause you 1 second. Ray Melendrez says, call to it, Joe, and you may receive
it seriously.
Seriously.
Well, one of the stories in this article about goblins, there was a couple. They were out right after the floodwaters in eastern Kentucky had receded, from one of these floods over the past couple of years. The floodwaters go down, they get into their vehicle and start looking for people that are stranded in need of help. They on Highway 15, they saw what they thought were two toddlers. Not at all surprised that two small children could be stranded, separated from their parents. These couples slowed down their pickup truck. When they came to a slow roll, they discovered two small gray creatures instead. The couple described each as 2 to 3 feet in height, about the size of a 2-year-old. One was naked and standing up with a clear expression of disorientation on its face. The other was wearing a leather skirt, which the husband referred to as a kilt, and was sitting down on the ground, rocking back and forth with its hands on its head. Shocked, the couple sped off and started telling everyone in earshot about flood goblins.
Greg McDonald says, I live in Kentucky, and I firmly believe where there's smoke, there is fire.
So, yeah, there's other portions of it here. People talking about, now there are some stories where people say that they see these things with wings on their backs, which is kind of a one-off. I'm not going to discount that, but that is very unlike the rest of the established lore of these creatures that all seem to have a physical resemblance to one another. But there are other people that, one guy was out kind of going around his holler in a 4-wheel drive, going door to door, checking on people. He was on a small, his name was Bo. He was on a small rural route. He pulled off quickly after seeing what he thought was a toddler stranded in a ditch. After stepping out of his truck and inspecting the creature, he realized that the creature was not human. They wondered at first if it could be a fawn mangled by the flood and washed downstream to the ditch, but upon closer inspection, the creature was about 1.5 feet tall and skinny. Pale skin, pointy ears, long fingers, and huge black eyes. Its skin was covered in dirt, decomposing, and on the upper half of its body, it had a bib-looking shirt made by what they identified as some sort of animal hide. When you get these creatures, from what they're starting to, these are not things that are supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
These appear to be creatures that might be subterranean that have been forced out by floodwaters.
Right.
And again,
that might be 100% native to the area.
Yeah.
You know,
and maybe these
terrestrial origin.
Maybe these creatures are coming up in other parts of the country and people are seeing them. And as the story is told, it evolves a bit. You know what I'm saying? Maybe with the Hopkinsville goblins, okay, maybe the ship was like an addition to the story. Maybe there wasn't a ship. Maybe these things weren't bullet resistant. Maybe there was a something happened that night involving creatures like this, and the story just grew a little bit.
Well, also you can look back at the Hellier, the whole Hellier series that was spawned on, that was spurned on by stories of things coming out of mine shafts, coming out of caves in the ground, and you had what seemed to be credible reports of that happening. Well, it's the same kind of thing in a close by area to that.
The Bo guy had another sighting later on.
I'm curious. Here's something I'm wondering about. Kentucky is not the only area in North America that has cave systems in it. Northern Alabama has extensive cave systems. Do you think that there might be a possibility that there are maybe underreported goblin sightings of goblin-esque creatures coming out of Northern Alabama?
Possibly. Well, it's one of the things that becomes...
But because it's not part of maybe the pop culture of it's like the Kelly Hopkinsville goblin situation is, or the Hellier, that there's no culture built around it where it's a common thing that maybe you don't hear a lot about it. But could there be a possibility that there are subterranean creatures or beings that are living in these areas?
It's not outside the realm of possibility that people that might be willing to come forward with a Bigfoot encounter and report it publicly would see something like that and go, I definitely can't say anything about that. We'll sound crazy.
Right.
We've had stuff happen that we go, we look for this stuff. We try to document this stuff. We've had stuff happen that we go, I really don't want to talk about that publicly. It's too crazy. You know what I'm saying? At that point, I mean, it's hard for me to believe, and I was there. I can't expect somebody else to believe me like reporting this, because it's outside the realm of our very expanded possibilities. We talk about that boggle threshold all the time. People have that boggle threshold where they're willing to accept weird stuff up to a certain limit, and then out over that line, their mind boggles and they just dismiss it. For some people, that boggle threshold is Bigfoot's a flesh and blood ape, and I'm willing to accept that, but anything beyond that is just impossible. We have a boggle threshold. Every single person watching this or listening in right now or in the chat has their own individual boggle threshold where you go, I'm willing to believe up to this point. But over that, it's a bridge too far. So there is a possibility. But one of the things, the reports in this story, this guy that just saw the deceased one.
Jason is cooking some dinner right now. Jason Finch is cooking some dinner.
Cooking some dinner. Right, so
stir fry, baby. Carry on.
This guy, Bo, who saw the creature with the bib, he's parked his truck. He was preparing to go sleep in the back of his truck. Okay. He's out on the move trying to help people that have been affected by these floodwaters. He's listening to a local radio station. Okay. He sees the silhouette at the edge of the forest looking in the truck's direction. This guy reports that the creature looked exactly like the other goblin. Pointy ears, long fingers, big eyes, but it was gray, standing upright, and was about a foot taller. It had on clothes, but he couldn't quite make out what the outfit looked like in the dark. He sends a text to his friend who's like inside the house. Okay. He's sleeping outside his friend's house. Okay. Sends a text to come outside because there's a goblin in the woods. And right as he sends that text, the radio cuts out that his truck is listening to. Now, this guy was recording all of this on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
And in the video, you can hear the DJ on the radio making announcements. And then the radio signal morphs into high and low frequency squeals. Okay. His friend comes outside. The creature goes back into the tree line and the radio starts to work normally again. And the guy goes, I got this feeling like there was this energy drawing me in, like this thing needed help. And this person goes, well, you were recording. Did you try to get a better, clear image of the goblin? And he goes, no, because I was just too stunned to think of anything in the moment. And there's a really great description at the end of this paragraph. He goes, I was also just gaslighting myself, telling myself like, don't be crazy now. Don't be crazy. Trying to convince himself that what he was seeing and experiencing wasn't real. But I love that phrase. I was gaslighting myself. I was trying to convince myself that what I was experiencing was not real and not happening. That is a perfect description to what we've encountered, we've experienced, other people have reported to us. But I've never heard it phrased like that. I was gaslighting myself.
That's an absolute defense mechanism. You can, even in moments of trauma, people disassociate and they say, this is not happening. That's something that people do all the time. And if you experience something that completely shakes your world like that, why wouldn't you try to do that as a defense mechanism?
Yeah. And this guy goes on to talk about how after he started getting these reports, he just dove in, the person who wrote this article. He's binging on like YouTube videos, podcasts, reading any sort of book that goes along with it. He comes across the Hopkinsville Goblin story.
Mm-hmm.
He comes across all sorts of stuff like this. And basically he starts calling them flood goblins.
Flood goblins. That's quite a term.
And he points to the area's vast network of abandoned mines and a cave system spanning from Western Kentucky up through the eastern parts of the states and beyond. And he theorizes that goblins had been living underground this entire time and they just poke up every so often.
Judy Wheeler asked if I could put that picture up again. I will absolutely do that while Joe was talking about this particular thing. And
that he started to think that a lot of these theories sounded very plausible when you started taking into stories about Tommyknockers, creatures that like the miners in Kentucky would experience, and the Moon-Eyed People. You know, the story of the Moon-Eyed People is that the Cherokee get into a war with these pale, large-eyed humanoids that lived underground, and they drove them out west. And they may have ended up in that area. And this is just...
I'll actually pull up the statue that is located at the Cherokee County Museum in Murphy, North Carolina, of the Moon-Eyed People. And they found the statue, and that was the impotence for the Moon-Eyed People. Here we go. Here you go. This is a great photo of it.
While you're doing that,
go ahead.
People do kind of try to debunk these encounters. One person says that, because the article does get a little hippy-dippy. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Article gets a little hippy-dippy. It does a great job of getting some witness encounters and statements and that are told in a very compelling manner. But it also talks to one person who's like a professor of psychology, and he just says that these are hallucinations, and it's people trying to process the traumas of the area being basically destroyed by the mining industry, and people are trying to process the environmental horrors that they have witnessed, and these traumas are manifesting themselves in visions of goblins after this flood. You know what I'm saying? That's a little bit of a reach. The human psyche does some weird stuff, but that to me didn't really make a lot of sense. One person, he one person is
right now on the screen. I have the statue that's located in the Cherokee County Museum in North Carolina, Murphy, North Carolina, of the Moon-Eyed People.
So
Discovered.
they what really gets the author is that the author's father-in-law is a psychiatrist who specializes in treating PTSD, and his father-in-law one night starts really pushing this article, The Neuroscience of Paranormal Experiences, and talks about how some people, and this is very interesting, and this is kind of like, should probably be its own show topic one day. But this gentleman, Dr. Michael Persinger of the Journal of Neuropsychiatry and Clinical Neurosciences, explains that researchers have found that some paranormal experiences seem to be linked to small seizures that people are having in their right temporal lobe. And these seizures are brought about in changes to geomagnetic activity in the landscape around them. The presence that people see or feel, a premonition, a vision, a dead loved one, a paranormal experience is believed to occur when the left temporal lobe observes the right temporal lobe seizing. But even his father-in-law, the psychiatrist, goes, what's interesting here is that people are seeing the same type of creature, these goblins. So assuming it's a credible report, whether they're having a temporal disturbance or not, they're telling you the truth about what they're seeing. They're seeing something. Mm-hmm. But that little throwaway line on this is, I'm going, that's a whole article in of itself.
Right.
Are there, and you don't even have to get geomagnetic activity caused by the landscape. Could there be geomagnetic or magnetic activity of a paranormal source that is happening, and people are seeing things that aren't, maybe the Bigfoot or the goblin or whatnot, they're seeing it, but it's not there. But something's causing them to see
that projection in the mind.
Causing that projection in the mind. You always hear about people who have encounters with, let's just call them alien grays and the abduction phenomenon. And they have dreams of large white owls because there's a similar,
physical
aspect, to the face, the eyes, the pale face, and everything like that. And that people say, well, those are masking memories, or those are
replacing
false.
What you see with something that you can identify and you're familiar with, and you can gaslight yourself into believing it was an owl.
Gaslighting myself. I love that line. But the whole thing on that, so I've got that article pulled up to kind of dive into later on. But if that is something that researchers are saying it's happening, that explains an awful lot. Mm-hmm. That explains the cloaking effect or the predator effect that people, maybe they're seeing something then, and something's causing that small seizure in the right temporal lobe, and then the reaction from the left temporal lobe to basically affect their vision at that point.
Jeff Matlow from Wildcat Tattoo says one of the tests given to Whitley Strieber was one for temporal lobe epilepsy when he was trying to figure out what was happening to him. And I have a lot of cool stuff marked in the chat we're going to hit before
that's just such a... One of the things that came forward about this, though, is that they make a notation of this, then we'll put this article to bed, is that the psychiatrist and the family, after reading this report and giving it to him, did say that a lot of people who report these types of encounters or experiences, it usually happens at night between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., the witching hour,
right?
Dead time, whatever you want to call it. Most all throughout folklore, as long as people have been around, that dead of night type thing is when things go bump in the night. A lot of these sightings of these creatures, both dead and alive, took place in broad daylight. And it took place in an environment that was not really predisposed to somebody calmly taking out their cell phone and taking a photo. They're dealing with a traumatic apocalyptic event that just took place in their region. But the whole term of like, these people are struggling with like coming to grips and to terms with the cataclysm that just happened in their area. And now they're seeing something that doesn't exist. And like that guy said, his defense mechanism was to gaslight himself. My brain was telling me that this isn't real. You're not crazy. You don't see this. Don't see this. Don't see this. So extremely fascinating, but we're going to revisit this as far as like, I'm going to go through and read about, the neuroscience of paranormal experiences at this point. And as far as like,
and of course, I think some people are misinterpreting some of what you said, that Joe's not saying all of these things are mind projections. He's just putting the theory out that sometimes maybe this could be a mind projection.
well, let's just do this right now.
This is just throwing ideas and theories out.
If there's a creature walking the forests of North America and it has the ability to somehow affect equipment remotely, to zap you or do whatever, maybe when people are seeing these like Sasquatch just completely disappear, something is causing some sort of like mental stimulus that affects people in a way that creature is still standing there. You just don't see it anymore. Or you're seeing a blurry spot where it's at.
Yeah.
At that point. That's just a whole kettle of fish, man. So I love how everybody gets very all or nothing with that. Nobody can.
Yeah,
you
they
can't
do. I've got some stuff started. Look
stuff.
at the bottom half there, the bottom part there, and you can kind of see where it's at.
A lot of really good stuff.
It's not all or nothing. A lot of this is speculation. We don't know anything. We're not trying to say that we know anything of what exactly is going on. Throwing ideas out there. This is brainstorming and discussion and
Sarge says
exploring possibilities.
If I don't admit it, if I don't admit it to myself that I see it, then it's not real and it can't affect me syndrome. It's like basically a child pulling the blankets over his head at night so that if he can't see the monsters, they can't see him at that point and he's safe. So
definitely everybody, let's put some prayers out for Brian Wigfall's mother. They put her in an old folks home and she is experiencing a very terrible illness. So
goblins, yes, stories of people in Alaska running into these.
I wanted to show you that one in particular because that's something you don't hear about. That's not something you hear about at all.
I know there are little people stories out of Alaska, and then maybe there's some crossover with that. And he follows up with people don't repeat it because they think they'll be called crazy or they think they're losing their sanity. Judy Wheeler talks about the creature that Scott Carpenter caught that time that was an ET looking creature. Physical characteristics very similar to the stuff that we're talking about tonight. Amy's got a good one here. It's like if people don't validate your experience, it slowly eats at you and makes it harder for you to believe yourself. It's just easier to tell yourself it didn't happen so you can function normally. And to be honest with you, you were bombarded daily. You're bombarded daily with Bigfoot stuff, from commercials to stickers on the backs of cars and everything like that. You're not bombarded with white subterranean monsters that are tiny that come out of the ground and mess with you.
But you are now.
But you are now. Aha! But it's true for that. People that have Bigfoot encounters struggle with it, and it's easier to tell yourself it didn't happen. For something like this,
much more widely accepted. Yeah, Ken Lucas. Got a super chat from Ken Lucas. Thank you very much. I don't need to see any of these guys.
Not today. The mainstream was also ticked off when they had to admit hominids existed on this continent a few dozen millennia before we were taught in school.
Follow up, is it right after it?
I lean towards an undiscovered hominid that we sometimes play hide and seek as kids. We learned biological markers to hide ourselves. Evolved hominids would be masters at avoiding being seen.
Yep.
And that's the thing you look at, is that here's the deal. Maybe there are naturally occurring geomagnetic energies that just occur all over the planet. And if you were a creature that your entire existence was, we need to stay hidden away from whatever these things are that build these like cars and cities and everything like that, because they kill everything. We need to stay hidden from them.
Yeah.
They might gravitate towards areas that naturally are predisposed to messing with us or messing with our equipment or anything like that. The Sasquatch might not be zapping you. Maybe that's a completely unrelated phenomenon that just the Sasquatch stays in the same area where this happens because they know it helps them stay undetected at that point. So.
HGMC says, wow, the pale creature picture is very close to the Moon-Eyed People statues. Absolutely. And you're seeing the same descriptions over and over and over again in different areas.
Our buddy JD, the Moon-Eyed People were real. I've actually seen Native Americans with bright blue eyes when I lived in Cherokee. And so let's see what else we got here. But it's definitely, it just seems like all of a sudden out of nowhere, these entities are being discussed again. When I heard that there was a rash of sightings within the past couple of years, that's really got my interest just kind of like just riled up at this point. And we got a cave guy.
We got a cave guy. Somebody asked earlier, I don't think I saved it, but they were asking if Death Wish has encountered anything like that or seen anything like that.
No,
not to my knowledge.
Death Wish hasn't. Death Wish has experienced some weird stuff.
Although I got to tell you though, with Death Wish's energy, I would think anything would like sense him coming from a mile away and unask the area.
Unask the area.
Yeah, so, pretty quickly.
It's a Death Wish stopped by.
That would be a no thank you.
Yeah. It let's see what else we got here, and we're gonna wrap it up in a few minutes, guys.
Dooster's in the chat.
Dooster!
Dooster's got a book about the Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins encounter called 10 Hours of Hell. And it is a deep dive into that. And
I actually had that up and I got so carried away. Where's the...
Right there.
I got the... Hold on, I'm trying to find my tab here. Here we go. And it's got the coolest artwork.
It has great artwork
on it. Let me pull up.
Why don't you get the share and put it in the
We'll do it up. So Dewey Edwards. We are going to bring the... How do I present right here?
I got to drop this guy here though. Hang on. Joe's doing it. Joe's doing it. Joe's doing it.
Maybe I'm doing it.
All right.
Did my computer break?
No, you're doing good. There you go. There's the artwork for 10 Hours of Hell.
Very, very, very cool. So,
yeah, look at that. Do you want? I'll grab the link and put it in the chat.
Yeah. Jesse's going to put the link to the Dooster's book in the chat here.
If you want to get the full tale there.
Anyway, actually, we're going to be wrapping it up here in a few minutes because we're after that 9 o'clock hour. City Witch has got a good thing. Nick Redford and David Weatherly have written excellent books on these types of creatures. I highly recommend them. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this article coming out, and it's been reprinted in a few different things. I just happened to see it in Oxford American. But the witnesses are, if you can cut out the hippy dippy stuff about people just manifesting environmental trauma from the mining industry, and who knows? I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe we're all just suffering trauma from the mining industry in the Southern Appalachian region. And that's what causes all this stuff. But it was great. It was a great article. And the witness encounters.
Maybe that's what was happening with the cat.
Environmental trauma from the mining industry. So, yes.
From me mining out cat food for him. I became the cat food.
Oh, Bunny Blue McGee from a while. That's a trowel. Yes.
Sam Burton, you quiet man on here.
Sam Quiet.
And it's a great book.
And it's a great book. So anyway, we're going to be wrapping up. If you guys come across any, and not like just the Hopkinsville Goblins, but if you come across any unique or new, like, goblin, let's just call them goblins. Dover Demon.
Angelica Crosby on here. Sorry to interrupt you, Joseph. Goblins, gremlins, Bigfoot, Dogman. They have to exist, or where did the stories and folklore come from? Someone had to see them, or you wouldn't have the tales.
Yeah. So
go on.
If you have something like that, let me know. Let me know if you've seen something like that. I'm telling you right now, it's to the point where I'm almost like wanting us to do like a...
Grizz asked if I got a new tattoo. I got bit by a cat.
Jessica got a cat bite. We're waiting for her to manifest those cat powers at this point. But this has got me like extremely intrigued, and it's got me extremely so that I don't want it to like really take up all of my time. But right now, I'm very tempted to let it take up all of my time.
Mm-hmm.
I am very much. I'm telling you right now, if we end up getting information on a slew of recent cases, we're probably headed there. You know what I'm saying? We're probably headed there.
Hellbent Holler's going to Goblin Town.
Going to Goblin Town, baby. So anyway.
Finally, I can be with my people.
Cryptic Castaway had this earlier. I've heard that one of the North Central tribes, maybe Lakota, have a tall, lanky creature that sounds like the Slender Man. The Green Children came from underground. Yeah, it's a weird world around us. We're going to wrap up we are going to.
Neo asks, I wonder about the impact of psychic residue. We think that has a big effect in places that are like the LBL. There's a lot of trauma and psychic residue left behind. We think that may be sort of an incubator for strange activity and these window areas to manifest.
Goblins in Banana Town. So
Goblins
anyway,
in Banana Town. I love it.
So
should we show them our new like rally cry?
No, you got to save that. So it's got to be more organic. Anyway, we're going to wrap up, folks.
Right.
We appreciate you joining us tonight. I might try to do a solo live stream this week, depending on how everything goes. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now until repair work starts up.
However, for Equinox, we'll be out doing the Equinox experiment. So keep an eye on that when that comes out. That should be coming up next week because we're going to go out, do the Equinox experiments, see what happens. And then I will hammer that out and get that out to you guys so you can see what happens. We have no idea what's going to happen. We have a lot of cool experiments planned.
Hopefully something. So
we'll see what occurs, but we're excited for it. We're kind of prepping up for it, getting everything put together for that. And update on the roof situation. We do have somebody coming Thursday. Thursday to put a new roof on. Yay! So we're working on that and everything. So things are coming along. Y'all be careful. Watch out for them goblins and don't gaslight yourselves.
I was gaslighting myself. Y'all have a good night, y'all.
Hey, listen, it's not just with goblins. People gaslight themselves all the time.
Let's wrap it. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, guys. Remember, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Be careful out there. We'll see y'all later. Good night.